Okay.
We might be live. Are we live? Are we live?
Yeah.
I think we're live. All right. What's up, everybody? For those of you who don't know me, I am Michael Bedell from Bedell Property Management here in Southeast Michigan and wanted to welcome you to the July edition of Echo Means Business YouTube Live, formerly IGTV Live, but why not go to a better platform? That's right, we're on YouTube, and that's the way it is. So see you guys in the chat here. Go ahead, let us know where you're going, or where you're coming from, how things are going, and what is shaking on a fun day Monday for you. Obviously, for those of you in the trading world, it's post-Tesla earnings, pre-FOMC. I don't know what that means in Canada for Phil. And Eli looks confused. Like, what did he just say? So go ahead, comment in the chat. Let me know what's going on with you. Looks like we got Jeremy N in. Thanks for joining us on this Monday fun day. And we're going to try and get Richey Plemons back. Oh, he's back.
I'm here, baby. I'm here.
It's always a little fun day Monday technical difficulties, whether it's, in our CRMs or with employees, which may be the topic for tonight, or just with Mr. Plemons, who, if you caught live a little while back, was one of many that was cursed by the former platform we were using. So we have since switched. Oh, man, we got Pablo, the Black Sheep Lawn Service in here. What's up, family? What's up, Pablo? Hope you're having an awesome Monday and avoided bees on like Richey. So, like I said, I'm Michael from Bedell Property Management in Southeast Michigan. And as you can see, I've got some of my fellow Echo Means Business user advisory group members for 2023. And so I'll let them introduce themselves here, and then we'll dive into tonight's topic, which is managing employees. So, Eli, you're below me, at least on my screen, so I'm going to kick it over to you. Tell everybody who you are, where you're from, and what you got going on. Oh, I can't hear you. Can anyone else hear Eli? Is it just me?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. All right.
I was
like a
kind of confused earlier because he kept on saying your mic is muted. So, but anyways, my name is Eli Baltazar. Everybody knows me by Eli Baltazar, owner of BLC or Baltazar's Lawn Care, based out of here in Russellville, Alabama. Sweet home, Alabama, guys. We maintain lawn maintenance most of the time. We focus on HOAs, so 80% of our business is lawn maintenance, so 20% would be landscaping, but that's what we do, guys. So we are out here in Russellville, Alabama.
Perfect. Awesome, man. So glad to have you on with us tonight. And then we'll go to a guy who's somewhat locally close to you, the aforementioned receiver of the bee sting, Richey Plemons. Tell everybody what you got going on besides a little ache on a Monday.
I just want to make it clear. I wasn't stung by a bee, Mike. I was swarmed by these little demon missiles called yellow jackets. About 8 of them, 6, 7, 8 of them. My arm, my neck, my back, ankles, knees. It's painful. So, but anyway, I'm Richey Plemons of Plemons Lawn and Landscape. We are based out of Chatsworth, Georgia. We are a lawn maintenance and landscaping company. Been in business since 2014. Took a little hiatus during the COVID thing, I guess, for a couple of years there. Have some reasons behind that. Some know, some don't. But yeah, man, I'm ready to kick the show off and talk about employees.
Employees over bees. I like it. Phil from Canada. What say you, my friend?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I'm very passionate about talking about business growth and development. I've come myself from cutting grass with my twin brother ever since we were little kids to each having our own company. He's a hardscaper. I was a softscaper, and just started hiring summer students to right now having 6 employees of my own. He has 24 employees of his own. So just to see business growth throughout the years, and I'm really passionate about talking about how when is the right time to hire, how to hire, some tricks for employee retentions and whatever I can share. Don't know it all, but can't wait to share some gold nuggets of everybody.
And for those that don't know you, Phil, what part of the Great White North do you reside in?
So I am directly north of New York. I'm about a 6-hour drive north of New York City in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So we have heavy snow from Christmas until end of March, right? So we shut down our tree care operation entirely during that time, take a break, we rest and recuperate, and we get back at it hard April 1st until mid-December. So yeah, it's an interesting climate. I see you guys down in the south. You guys have your own things to worry about, and we have our ice storms and stuff. And I know you guys have your little snowflakes to worry about, but.
Yeah, well, it's good to have a little downtime. I mean, somebody's got to cheer for the Montreal Canadiens, right?
So, yeah, I see your Detroit poster there. I might have to close the chat early.
Right? Don't blame you, man. But nobody can talk smack about Gordie Howe. You know, he's you got Rocket Richard, but then you got Gordie Howe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What's hockey?
Fair enough.
That's the South for you.
That's yep. I was gonna say
we play football down here.
why the Atlanta Thrashers didn't work out either times, also as the Atlanta Flames. But back to employees instead of hockey. So that is the topic for tonight, and everyone's got kind of a unique perspective to share. So obviously the point of these live streams is to give you guys maybe some actionable steps that you can implement in your businesses. And so not that anything we say is what you should do or what you shouldn't do, but our hope is that you get a couple of golden nuggets to take away, or at least some ideas to think about, because ultimately we don't work in your market, you do. So it's important that you got to figure out what works best for your market, but hopefully tonight offers a little insight into how you could best run with that. So I remember we had a little pre-chat about this, and Richey had some very staunch, polarizing things and kind of a good story to go with it. So I wanted to start with that if we could, and kind of steer the ship from there to maybe there may be some different thoughts on things. But we'll start with what you had to say, Richey. I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, we can go ahead and get started. Managing employees in my business is super simple. I just say yes, ma'am, because a lot of people may not know it. I work with my wife now, so I'm the employee now. She's the boss. But no, pre-COVID, I mean, at one point we got up to 3 crews, briefly 3 crews. Most of the time we were running 2, but briefly we were up to 3 crews. But, when COVID hit, it was just, whether you were afraid to go to work or whether you had COVID or, there was so much going on at that time. Nobody really knew what to do. Everybody was confused. So it was getting hard to find employees at that time. And, we were throwing money, different benefits, things like that. But we just, it was just getting to the point where you just couldn't find good quality employees. And so my sister, a lot of people don't know, she had a liver disease. And so we had decided, all right, let's scale it back. Let's drop it down to a solo truck, work by myself. And with her disease, she needed a liver. So I was going to actually donate my liver to her, and I was going to be out of work anywhere from 3 to 5 months. I'm not real sure. They said it's different with everybody. So it was one of those things that was like, man, it's going to be tough to mow grass without a liver right now. So we decided, all right, let's sell all but about 25% of the business. My wife has her own lawn care company, so she consumed that, just basically gobbled the other 25% up into her business. I started a trucking company with the sale of what I sold of the business, and it was just easier to find a driver to put into a truck than it would be to find multiple guys to run lawn care crews. And so, but since then, unfortunately, my sister did pass. We weren't able to get the surgery done. So that's when I decided, hey, trucks don't really need them. So I sold them, went back into the lawn care side. We're small now. It's me, my wife, and one other person. We want to keep it small. We're not looking to grow fast. I can remember when I first started in 2013 or 14, it was like, I can't wait to have 20 trucks. I want 20 crews. I'll be making millions of dollars. And then I realized, hey, I can make just as much money, just me and her and one helper, as I did with 3 crews. At the end of the day, I can net that money. But it's this day and age, I don't know if it's just the younger generation or what. It seems like people just don't want to work. You can throw all the money you want to at them, but we struggle finding people who – you can find people every day that want to work paycheck to paycheck. You know, that's all they want to do is get that paycheck at the end of the week. But you've got to find employees that are passionate about lawn care and landscaping like we are. And that's the problem, is finding people actually passionate about this job. It's not a big overhead or not a big profit margin business and just lawn maintenance. You know, if you're just mowing grass every day, you're not making a ton of money. You have to have the skills for landscaping, the skills for tree work like Phil does. You know, you've got to upsell those to really make good money, and finding guys who want to do that job in this heat, it's getting harder and harder to do. So we downsized from COVID, and I think, Phil, it was kind of a blessing for you guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like the entire opposite for us. We all have different stories from different markets, but I was at that time, pre-COVID, I had ordered my first chip truck, my chipper. I had met James, who works with us now. He's a head arborist in our company, and we're transitioning from doing only hedge trimming into tree work. And then COVID hit, and I had equipment on the way, payments on the way, and I was like, oh, great, what's going to happen? But everyone stayed at home, and everybody wanted work done, so it was a blessing in disguise. And that's whenever the company culture really started building. I had been doing grass cutting. I had been doing a whole bunch of stuff beforehand. But I find, and this is nothing against people that do lawn care, I believe every single job has to get done. But I found it was very hard to motivate people to like into a career with, like you said, low profit margins and with repetitious stuff like grass cutting. And now that we're in like the hedge world and the tree world, every job is so different. There's infinite amount of challenges and risks and things that make the job really interesting, that I find that we've been able to develop a culture, a safe work culture, a family environment as well, that's attracted so many people. Right now we have 6 people now, 1 in the office, and it's less of like it used to be, just having students and self-employed. Whenever the company incorporated at the same time around COVID was huge. That is another thing we could talk about another time. But whenever you actually incorporate your business, you're less thinking about the employees working for you as much about them working for the company. And having that distinction, able to separate that in my mind has been huge. To be able to have, okay, well, you're working for the greater good of the company. You're not working for my greater good. I'm taking my salary from the company. And just that was a huge clarification for me. And yeah, we have a great culture. We have, like I said, 6 full-time guys. We have a coffee bar. You can have your Gatorades in the morning. You can make as many espressos as you want throughout the day, iced coffees at the end of the day. And we're developing a culture where we have 2 new guys that just started with us, and they've never done tree care in their life or anything related. And they're in love with it. They've been with us for a week, and they're freaking out. They're like, I never knew this existed. This is amazing. It's a hard job, but they're having a lot of fun. Eli has like a ton of employees. This is like a totally different game. This is kind of like what I'm scared about. I never really wanted to have a lot of employees because I think I'm a leader, but I'm not like a 20 or a 10 or 12 employee leader. I kind of like my small group. But like, tell us, Eli, like, how do you run stuff? Do you have like crew leaders to help you manage your stuff? How do you guys run such a big ship?
Yes, actually, right now it's got 8 employees. When I started this business, I wasn't dreaming of this. Of course, you know, I did it solo, part time for 8 years, and then everything took off in 2014 when I went full time. I did it for 2 years by myself, and part time. We added a part time in 2015. But then we got this big opportunity with HOAs. We got calls where folks wanted a price for 48 houses, 41 houses. So we started adding employees. So the biggest challenge we had, as you guys said, was COVID. First when we, 2018, 2019, that's when we started adding 4 or 5 guys. And when COVID hit, we were 7 employees and 8 with me. So that's whenever it was challenging. There was a time whenever only 4 of us worked because 4 of my guys had COVID and they had to sit out. But, we had to continue working. We had to talk to some of our customers and say, hey, this is what's going on, and they were understandable. There was time that the weekly clients were on 10 days or every 2 weeks. But we managed to kind of, keep up with a schedule. We had to work 6 days a week until the guys came back and kept with us. So right now we got 8 employees. One that works in the office 2 days a week. He's my nephew, and he does all the payroll, all the invoices, because I like to be with the guys out in the field, because that's one of the problems with the HOAs with a recent lawn care guy before we took over. It's it was poor management. There was no supervision. There was, nobody was leading the guys. So I mean, I love being out in the field, man. I'm not an office person. I've tried, but it's hard. I got lead guys. I got 2 lead guys, but I like to be with the guys every day. Keep up with them. So when COVID hit, it was a big challenge, as you guys said. And then inflation came. All the prices went through the roof. So we had to sit down with the guys, with my lead guys, to see what was we going to do. Either we cut back or we continue and then find a way how our profit margin, we hit our profit margin, because there were, like you guys say, is, lawn maintenance, if you're not doing the right way, there's time you can't make money, but like I was telling you guys the other day, there's time that I was just, hiring, but we wasn't getting a lot of work done. Money wasn't coming in as much as I wanted to. So we sat down with the guys and we looked at the company and see what we can cut off, downtime, break time. And I don't know, we had to sit down with the lead guys and look at the company and say, hey, what is it that's taking us so long at this job that, we needing to put the guys where they feel comfortable. So back then, what we did was we were swapping the guys. Like, let's say, for example, with our biggest HOA is 130 homes. Let's say the guy that edged last week, this week, he's weed eating. And the guy that was on the mower this week, next week, he's doing something else. So we was getting a lot of confusion. The guys were running into each other. So what we did is we set up standards. We told the guys to say, hey, from now on, you're going to do this day. And you're going to do it every Tuesday of the week, every week. So, and on the other side, you're going to edge this HOA every time we're going to cut it. So we got it to the point where the guys found their spot. They felt comfortable. They know what they're doing. So we was looking at like, hey, now we're getting jobs done. We're getting all these HOAs knocked out. 130 homes is a lot. It's a lot. We have 4 guys mowing, 4 guys weed eating. So, we're out here busting our butt. So when we put everybody in their spot, in their street, and their roads where they feel comfortable, we was getting this work knocked out. We was getting, HOAs knocked out. So now we have, like Tuesday, we're knocking out 2 HOAs, a 90 home and a 60. We're getting them out from 8 o'clock, 8:30 to 5:30 or 6, the latest. So that's whenever when inflation hit, we had to either find a way to add more job with the same amount of guys or cut back like Richey did. And thank God we found a way to put it, where our business is comfortable now. So it's challenging having employees, but we need to make, when you have employees, you need to make them feel they're part of this big thing. They're part of this business. So I tell the guys all the time, we have a meeting every Thursday, and I say, hey guys, thanks to you guys, we are BLC. Make the employee feel they're a part of something that's big, part of this company. And I always tell the guys, when you keep up the quality, you guys are awarded too. For example, like you said, a field, I pay my guys lunch, keep water in the cooler, Gatorade. Every once in a while, I ask the guys, what do you want to drink today? Oh, we want Red Bull. All right, let's go get Red Bull. Make this guy, when I see a smile in my employee's eyes or face, I feel good too as a boss. Make these guys feel they're a part of a company that, we make them feel like, hey, I feel happy with BLC. I don't want them to come and say, I'm just here just because I want a paycheck. No, we want these guys to feel that they're a part of a big company and a company that's focused on quality. And that's why we got these guys working now we are three crew company with 8 employees. So we're happy right now. But as I say, when inflation hit, it's challenge. It was a challenge, but we were able to manage it with the lead guys. And now, we're knocking out 2 HOAs Wednesday, 1 HOA Tuesday, and then on Fridays we do individuals. So one thing I wanted to ask Richey, what did you do with him contract whenever you cut back? What happened whenever you started cutting back?
So when I, excuse me, so when I cut back, I actually when I sold the business off, we actually, we worked out a plan. I worked with all my HOAs and all my commercial properties and told them the plan. I said, hey, I'm selling the business. This is why. And, and we were just upfront with the customers and told them what was going on. I introduced them to the guy that was purchasing the business. And to be able to sell those contracts the way I basically did it was, I said, all right, 100% of these customers are not going to stay. You're going to have some drop off. And so we broke it down over so many months. And we said, all right, this is how much we make over the course of 5-6 months on these places. Because, you're not going to get a year's worth of out of it. And we're going to say, all right, we're going to then take off 40%. And so, all right, you're going to lose probably 40% of these customers. So when you purchase these, I'm going to now subtract 40% from that price. And we just brought it down until he felt comfortable, I felt comfortable, and the customers felt comfortable. And I believe he ended up keeping about 80% of the customers that bought the business. And the ones that he lost were just like houses. It wasn't any of the large contracts. It was the smaller ones. Most of all the commercials stayed with him, and then the HOAs, all the HOAs stayed with him. And to this day, I believe he's still got mostly all of them still. So, he's doing a good job. When we did sell, we did have to make sure that we're not competing in the same area when I come back. So now I have to travel to a different area, which it's the same distance that I was doing every day. Instead of going east or instead of going west, now I go east. So, and there's another town that's, relatively the same as I was making before. So, we just worked it out together. It was kind of one of those things. I'd never done it before. He had never purchased before. So we figured up the value of the equipment, and then the employees that I had, if they wanted to stay on and work with him, they could. If not, then they were more than welcome to go anywhere they wanted to go. I think one stayed with him and then only lasted a couple of weeks. So, but for the most part, most employees said, I'm just going to go find somewhere else to work.
I think that was one of my fear whenever COVID was, there, or when inflation went through the roof. All the prices, man, you guys know, mower prices, parts, and gasoline, all them good stuff. I think that was one of my fears was how to deal with customers. Especially
and it's not just the prices like you're talking about with the inflation. It's not just the prices. It's the supply chain issues. You've got the money for the part, but can you get the part? I know I waited 6 months on a throttle cable for a machine. It took 6 months to get just a throttle cable.
That's insane. We ordered more in 2021. We didn't get it to 2022, so it was crazy. So I think that was one of my fear. And when I told the guys that, hey man, we might have to cut back, and I looked at their faces, I saw that fear and say, hey, where am I going to go? You know, if I cut back, I'm going to let go 4 or 5 of these guys. And I looked at their face, and they had that fear too. You know, they were happy with us. You know, and I'm glad. I thank God that we was able to figure it out. And now with the same amount of guys, we're able to do more work, quality work, of course. And the guys are happy. Like I said, every time we have a meeting, I always ask the guys. It's not always me. Hey, this is what we're going to do. You know, be that boss. No, we always want to hear their opinions. How can we get these guys involved and say, hey, what can we change to better the company? You know, and hear from your employees is the best part of the business, you know, and then focus on how you can make them changes. You know, I think that was my main fear, was how to deal with contracts. And I felt sorry for my employees if I was to let them go, lay them off. But I'm glad we were able to figure it out. And now, you know, we're a happy company.
I think I'll say one thing to that, Eli. I think it's healthy for businesses to have a reserve, not only for your equipment, but if stuff goes crazy and like there could be, we don't know what's going to happen, but we like to keep a 3-month reserve. Equipment, operating expenses, and salaries in the bank. And we currently have that in case stuff goes down. Employees know that, like, if we miss work for a week, we don't have contract work like you guys have grass. And like I used to love that about grass cutting. You kind of like that guarantee from like April until November. You know you're going to be busy, and you fill out your schedule, and you're good to go. But if our stuff and like tree care, every single job is something different, and there is that fear that's out there. Like, is there going to be enough for the employees? And the employees, hey, is there going to be enough work? But we keep that buffer. So if stuff does go crazy, or if we don't have enough work for whatever reason, they are able to keep on. If you let them walk, they're never going to come back. You're never going to find anybody better. That's very important. If they're making a commitment, it's very easy to think of them as expendable assets. So that's the furthest thing from reality. They're investing. Like, if they're in their mid-late 20s, they're investing essentially like, hey, I might want to work here for the next 10, 20 years. Like, this is not a summer job anymore. This is a serious, they're investing a lot into you. You have to make sure that you have enough to protect them. And if we're too frivolous with our money, we're too frivolous with our spending, and we don't make good business decisions, and the employees are the first ones that take the hit, I don't think that's good. As bosses, we have to make sure we're living modestly, and that we are able personally also to not take a paycheck 1 month if that means employees can stay on the books in case of a bad time. What do you think, Mike?
You know, he's talking about not taking a paycheck. You know, a lot of people, it blows their mind when I first started my business, I didn't actually take a paycheck for almost a year. Everything was just right back into the business. And people are like, well, what'd you do? Well, I had money saved up, of course, but you had to dig into savings to keep things going. But for the first year, I didn't even pay myself anything.
Same with me, man. He was the same with me. I was at what it is when I went full time. I got promoted at a chicken plant, poultry company, as a supervisor.
We got plenty of those down here, don't we, Eli?
Yeah. That one is, I think it was called Marjack back then. Now it's a different name, but it was Marjack. I think their corporate is in Georgia, by the way. But anyways, I got promoted as a supervisor. Man, I couldn't sleep with all the stress. I had to deal with, employees, 20, 30 employees. That's whenever I took the step of going full-time on lawn care. And man, it was hard. And that's the thing, you learn from these companies where we used to work, and you see negative things happening there that now that we own our company and have employees, we try to do our best not to have them kind of situation in our company. At a company where they have a lot of employees, they don't care if you're happy. They don't care if you have somewhere to sleep or got money to feed your family. I mean, them people. But those are things that we need to worry about our employees. Make the guys happy. Make them feel like one day one of my employees came up to me and said, "Hey, Eli," and I didn't know about it. He said, "Hey, Eli, I'm going early today." And you guys know the Hispanic folks, they really don't. They're very shy. They're not going to come to you and say and open up their situation with you. But this guy.
Cliffhanger, man. Cliffhanger. Oh,
Hey,
you
there
back?
he is. He's back.
Sorry about that.
All right, I heard these guys.
Phone
So,
motor.
I lost you guys for a second.
we got us. We got you.
Okay. But this, my employee came up to me and said, "Hey, Eli, I'm going early today." And I asked him, I said, "What's going on? This is the second time you go early this week." And that's when he said, "I got my little girl, my little daughter in the hospital. She has a health issue, and I have to run to my sister's house to pick up some money for food for my mom and for my wife that's taking care of the baby." So I was like, "Why haven't you tell me about this? I needed to know. So I pulled out my wallet and gave that guy $50, and man, he was like, "Man, thank you, Eli." And I see that happiness in his face, and he knows I take care of them. And that right there made me feel good. And I was like, this guy, needs help. So those are things that we need to value, have a relationship with our employees, not just the boss and employee. No, talk to these guys. Make them feel like they're part of your family. We are family because the second place we spend more time is at work. It's work and home, work and home. So make this guy feel like they're part of the family. And those are things that I've added to my company. I tell the lead guys, hey, we need to make these guys feel like they are part of us. They are part of BLC, not just come here, make a paycheck, draw a paycheck, and then leave. No, it's all about we are one family every day of the week. So those are things that I think is very important as a company.
No, that's really great. That's a excellent point, son. Well, they're our family. You got to take care of them. And so I had a question for Phil. You mentioned just being in Canada, you have to kind of shut it down for the winter months there. So but you also mentioned guys, you if you can't pay them for a week or two, they go somewhere else. So how do you manage that? Obviously, it might be a little different than what we do in the States here, but I was kind of curious because I was like, oh no, does he have these great guys all year, but then the winter just comes and ruins everything, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's quite interesting. We have something called snow removal up here, and I did that for a decade. I don't recommend it if you love sleep, if you love warmth. I don't recommend snow removal if you care for your back. I did it. I bought my wife's engagement ring with that. I paid for family expenses whenever we had a young family growing up. And that I slowly got out of it. I started doing home renovations. That's just for me. That was whenever I was hiring students and they're either in school and stuff. But as we got towards more serious employees that could commit April until Christmas, it's not students anymore. Told everybody, listen, we don't have work really in the winter. You'll have to get a side gig. We have something called unemployment up here. So you get 55% of your salary. If you're working a seasonal job, you don't have anything in the winter. So some guys sometimes would go on that. But I mean, James is a carpenter. Cameron does renovations and carpentry as well. We all pursue and further education in the winter. So there's opportunity to having some sort of government subvention and also to do side jobs. In the winter, we'd like to be able to offer salary soon, year-round employment, essentially. Pretty much we're doing woodworking or doing some other lighter duty stuff, not involving snow in the winter. I know you get a lot of snow in Michigan as well, but I like to keep things related to trees, right? So it's things that are in development, but no one's not taking this job because of not having year-round employment. They know it's something that is going to be coming around soon, but a lot of people, they like working the 9 months intensely taking home a bit bigger of a paycheck than usual, and then either going on unemployment in the winter and just taking a break, resting the body. It's important to do that. I see some guys out here and they'll climb trees 12 months a year and they'll work throughout the whole winter on the cold days, and you're just wearing yourself out. And they're doing that because their bosses are quoting way too much work, or they are just wanting to get way too much done. It actually wears on the guys, really. It wears on people a lot. So it's important, I do think, to have a little bit of downtime. Especially in our industries, all our 3 industries. So you guys have the heat to deal with. We have other elements, but it's important to stay sharp mentally, and having that time off, I think, is important.
You touched on something really good there that I want to just bring home, and that's that the concept of like people can only do so much, right? And there's some contractors that I work with who I kind of, one of them I had to call out on making that cardinal sin over the past week or so, because every market's different, but in our market, there's like way more work than there is companies, people, side hustlers, whatever, you name it, to do it. And so it's super easy to fall into that trap. And a part of being a good leader is being very cognizant of your bench strength, whatever that is, whatever size company you have, however you have your workflow set up, you can only produce so much. And that's before the weather screws you up, or before you wait 6 months for a throttle cable, or so on and so forth. So that to me was a little golden nugget statement that I didn't want to get glossed over, because, like I said, every market is different. But if your market is somewhat like my market, at least there's recession this, recession that, it's a hot market in Michigan. It just is what it is. And I think it's partly just that musical chairs game that I referenced of, even if there's not a crazy amount of work, there's not very, very many people to do it. So by default, we're all very, very busy, almost like too busy. And that line can get crossed really, really, really easily. There's like short-term burnout and then long-term burnout, right? And that can be something that, like Eli mentioned when he was at the chicken plant, right? He took a better opportunity, and all it really did was burn everything out, because I'm sure it came with some more pay or benefit or something like that, but the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. It sounds like you were bringing the work home, and now you couldn't sleep because you had all these pressures on you. And the same thing can happen, in any of our businesses. It doesn't necessarily have to be just a chicken factory, or you have to be a supervisor now. We can all get to this point where we've just got way too much going on. And then that trickles down to everybody else. And, the grass starts to look greener on the other side, which may actually be a literal statement in our business, because maybe you go somewhere else and their grass is a little healthier and greener. So it is greener on the other side. But I digress. I think that's really, really important, and probably one of almost like the best takeaways that I've heard so far is just, how much is enough? If you're lucky enough, I'll leave it like this. If you're lucky enough to have a Jimmy John's in your area, there should be a sign on the wall that says how much is enough. And I highly, highly, highly recommend that you take the time to read it, because it's very, very good. It kind of hits home, I think, what everybody gets wrong in business. And it's just something that you kind of got to learn by going through it, I think. But how much is enough? And that's something that we got to kind of have that open line of communication, like Eli had with his guys. Being willing to if you'll level with me and be part of the family, like you're part of the family, we'll take care of you. So I think that's there's so many good takeaways. Before we kind of land the plane, let's go through the chat here. I know we've had so many people comment, and I've hardly had a chance to get to any of it. So Jeremy N asked, what's the difference between a 1-man versus 2-man versus 3-man mowing crew? But I'm sure that could extrapolate out to tree crew or snow plowing crew or anything. But you guys take it away. I'll let you decide who wants to answer that.
I can go first, I guess. I guess the main difference is efficiency. You can pick up a little bit more work, but saying that at the same time, you could also have guys in the way. You have too many guys, then you've got guys in the way who are just getting a paycheck, stand there and wait. So you got to look at it. A 1-man's going to be, or a 2-man's going to be faster than a 1-man crew. A 3-man's going to be faster than a 2-man crew, but a 4-man crew may not be as fast as a 3-man crew because now you just got guys stumbling over each other.
Yeah. So in our business in the tree world, it's, minimum 2 for safety. We like having 2 climbers on every single job site in case, just as a safety factor. But what we found is that you can have too many guys, and that gets way down the road. But if you have that extra guy and he's standing around, but if he saves you half an hour during the day or even 20 minutes, his salary's paid for. And he's made your life a lot easier. He's not been standing around for 7.5 hours and only worked half an hour. But even if it just makes you a little bit more efficient, just a tiny little bit more, it pays itself off.
You got time to lean, you got time to clean, right?
Yeah.
Word. What about you, Eli? What do you have to say?
There might be more money. The difference is there might be more money, but as the money adds, stress adds too. More things to worry about, more to keep up with. That's the main difference.
Sure. The one other thing I'll add to that is billable man hours. So, it would kind of depend on how you have things set up. I know I saw Paul Camara in the chat here, when it's always great to have him join us. And he mentioned he does a lot of time and materials work. So obviously he'd be charging for the time of 4 individuals versus say 3 or 2 or 1. But obviously when you're bidding work, whether it's big HOA work or smaller work, you're going to plan a certain number of man hours for that work. And then it's just trying to what's going to give you the best result. It's kind of like, and I know Phil will perk up this, kind of like hockey, right? Like, do you want to send 2 guys deep and then have 1 guy hang high in the slot and get open? Or, what's going to work strategically best for, in that case, the defense, or in our reality case, the HOA or property that you're working on. And so that, if it were me, and, I used to have a bunch of employees, so I used to have to actually deal with this, was what's going to make it easy for them, but make us the most money, but also be the most productive, but be the best use of equipment. And somewhere in that triangulation, it's life is just one big math calculation most of the time, if you want it to be. And that's where I'd reside with that, is like the difference is really negligible until it's a win for everybody. Unless it's a time and materials thing, then it's obviously just more people potentially, more people you're billing out at $100 or $200 a billable hour, whatever it is. So great question. I know, let's see, what else do we got in here? Landscapes back me. Scott, good to see you, my friend. How many employees do all of you employ or have employed at one time a season? Well, I'll start with me. It's just me now, and it's fantastic. It's been that for a couple of years, and probably won't go back. But at one point in time, I had 13 employees. So I've ridden all wavelengths of the spectrum. Got big, had 3-4 crews at one point in time, and then scaled it back a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. And the older I get, the more it's just me, and that's the way it ought to be. What about you, Eli? Tell us what you got going on.
Right now, we got 8 employees, and of course, about 6 of those guys have been with us for over 2 or 3 years or longer. But right now, we added 2 this year because I had one guy that started his own business and another guy that couldn't handle the heat. He worked with me with 2 years, and he couldn't handle the heat. I was afraid he was going to have a heat stroke, so he said, I think I'm just going to look for a job, and which is okay. I want him to feel happy wherever he goes. So we replaced him with 2 more guys this year, so we're at 8 right now. And I try to keep the guys the same amount of guys and the same guys every season. That way we don't have to spend more time training the guys. Of course, like Phil says, we have like January and February are slow months every year. But we have a lot of cleanups to do. We have a lot of leaves to deal with down here in the South. So we don't have a lot of snow, but we have a lot of leaves to deal with. So we try to keep the guys busy, and or I try to help them out with extra hours when we're slow, just to keep them. That way we wouldn't have to rehire every year, and then spend more time training them. So yeah, right now it's 8 guys that we have, and we've been having 8 guys for the last 2 years.
Mr. Plemons, what say you?
Remember, I told you I don't have any employees. I'm an employee. My wife's in charge. So, but no, there's just there's me and my wife, and then one other person that works with us. So we got a total of 3. My largest, I was up 3 crews, about 9-10 guys, and like Eli said, it's a headache. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, and getting there so quickly was probably not a good thing for me when I got there, because it overwhelms you quick, and you got to put your big boy pants on and figure it out, or you could be in a mess real quick.
I hear that. What about you, Phil? You said you sounds like some different iterations. You might be able to answer this question kind of a unique way. Like you said, first off, you have a twin brother, so there's basically 2 of you. But I guess extrapolate off of that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's always been interesting doing something with your twin. He'll do like we call it the dead scaping, and we do the live scaping. So we complement each other on many different jobs. If we see things that need his help and his expertise, we'll send him his way. Is someone's mic extra on in the back? Is that me?
Now I think Eli's picking up some sound in his, I believe, isn't it?
Sorry,
sounds like somebody's typing away or something like that. Eli, hit that mute button if you could.
I don't know what. Okay.
Yeah. So as I was saying, my brother. Yeah. So him and I both have been running companies ever since our 18 years old, 20 years old, whenever we start our businesses. And he'd be great on this chat because he has 24 employees, 6 in the office, 18 in the field. He runs a very big hardscape restoration show. So they take up paving stones that have failed and they fix them up and whatever. And I've learned a lot from him, but I've been very content to have a smaller operation and stay involved. Like Eli would say, being out there on the field, maintaining high quality. But so we have currently now there's 6, including me. We have Tammy, who's in the office answering phone calls. This is huge actually as well, hiring a secretary. And I think whenever you can finally do that, get someone to take your phone calls, that's such a freeing part of your business. You're able just to focus a lot more on your job, interact more with your employees instead of only with the clients throughout the whole day. I used to be very distant. So we have these helmets on at work, and I take the calls all the time in my Bluetooth, in previous years. And I couldn't be the one doing the tree climbing or the tree removal because I would have to take the calls, and I couldn't be doing something that would be interrupting the flow the flow of efficiency or safety down below for the employees. So right now, having a secretary, that's huge. Someone that can just answer the calls throughout the day. It's been a real freeing thing. But yeah, 7 right now, and then it's not a seasonal thing. It is seasonal work, but we don't just hire and fire. People just always come back the next year.
Well, that speaks to the culture. They want to come back. They have their downtime, and then it's time to get up in the trees, make it happen. And or like last year, get at it early because it's ice storm season, right?
That hit real early. That was this year. We did a safety course. We got all our trucks ready, and then we looked at the forecast, and it's it looks like it might be an ice storm, and boom, we got flooded with more work than we could imagine. We were ready. We really feel that everything had come together to the right place, but it also leads to another thing I want to touch on real quick. Well, training. you have to budget some time for training. Oftentimes we just think about employees as like the means for us to get to our end, for us to meet their goals, but we have to invest in them, in their development as well, in advancing their knowledge and their passion for the industry. So you shove them books, you shove them some interesting material, and they're going to grow. I mean, it really depends on the field that you're in, but in the tree care industry, it's infinite. They have tree climbing competitions. I know there's lawn mowing competitions too, but there's so many different things out there to tickle your interest and to make you just want to like consume as much as you possibly can. And if you budget time, so on rainy days, and this leads me to another point, we pay not by the hour. I pay my guys weekly. You show up, you're paid. Monday to Friday, you're paid for your 5 days. If you show up for 4 days, you get paid for 4 days. But if you show up on a rainy day, you're in the shop, you're reading books. You're in the shop, you're learning new nuts. You're learning to do maintenance on equipment. So we really invest in their growth. At the same time, they can help the business. We're not earning money those days, but we've budgeted in our other normal activities to earn accordingly to work 140 days a year. That's all. If we can go out 140 days a year, that's all we need to do. So, and then once again, let's say your employee, if you have another employee, it's not just to make more, but it's to make everybody's life easier. And by us having that extra guy hanging around, like he might be right now, we have these 2 new guys, Trav and Pat, and sometimes they are hanging around, but in the end, they've saved us maybe half an hour to our day, and we're extremely thankful for that. And they're learning, and there's no other. You can't shortcut and can't fast track someone into learning, especially in the tree care industry. There's a lot of risks. So I'd say take time in investing in your employees, and like Eli said, making them feel like you're part of a family. And my employees know directly that they're directly compensated. Like the more we make, like the possibly be a bonus at the end of the year, or we can afford to buy more helmets, or we can afford to buy brand new clothing. Like there's a lot of stuff that we can treat ourselves to whenever things go a lot better. So.
Well said. Well said. I like that you included that budgeting is important in that, and that budgeting for the training time that it's going to take for employees. We all have different tasks that we're asking people to do, and there's a learning curve always to do it how it's going to be done at your said company, right? But different tasks are going to have different learning curves. Like a statistic I hear all too frequently is it takes about 3 full seasons for an irrigation technician to pretty much be seasoned and not be surprised very often. But the average career length of a irrigation technician currently is less than 1.5 years, which explains why I come across so many screwed up irrigation problems. It's all in the math. It's always in the math. So let's see. We got anything else in the chat here? And then we'll probably land the plane. Man, so many good names in here. Alex Carey, Mark Thomas, Adrian, thanks for joining us. Ricky from AJ's Lawn Care. I think I saw Tino in here. We got Franco's Lawn and Landscaping throwing us a wave. Thank you for joining us. Oh, man, we got JC, the lawn care guy. He asked about too many employees. We talked about that. All right, one last question. We'll probably land the plane here. When it comes to your employees, do you value the seniority of an employee over one who may be more productive with less seniority? Ooh, it's a little bit of a juicy question there. A little juice on that one. That's nice. Eli, what say you?
Yes, I think that's an important question because they to you for a long time, So, in terms of maybe not favoring them when it comes to easy work, but for example, I just put one example out there. For example, we used to travel to the lawn care events. And what I do, I usually, when I have the opportunity to travel, when it comes to landscaping society or something that, it's part of work, I usually, the guys that have seniority that has been with me for a long time, I usually taken with me so they can learn. And in my company, it's mostly the lead guys, because they had been with me for so long. But and another thing, when it comes to work site, if we have a guy that's weed eating, and and we have one guy that don't like doing mowing at all. He don't like it, but sometimes I feel sorry for him because he needs a break. I need him to mow sometimes, but he don't like it. But so whenever we have more guys out, I tell him, hey, you need a break. I need you on the mower, even though I have a guy that has more experience, but he has only been with me for 1 year or 2 years. But this guy has been with me for 6 years, and I want him to mow because he needs a break. So I tell him, hey, I need you to mow today. And he's like, all right, that's fine. I'll do it, and because I want him to feel appreciated, for being with me so long. But like I said, it's just small things for that, not in every aspect, because for GIE, I try to treat everybody the same. For GIE, the whole company's going. We're shutting down production so that all of us are going to have a good time. So all my 8 guys are going, and they're excited about it. Because I really don't like to see them, hey, why is it that he only takes the guys that's been with him so long, But in sometimes, we'll give them a little, I would just say a little different treat when it comes to like small things like that. I need you to mow because this guy is out. And, because I really want him to feel appreciated for being with me so long. And of course, in Christmas, we would give him, bonuses, and maybe he's in the 1 year guy because I want him to feel appreciated for being with me so long. So I hope that answered the question.
Sure, that works. Phil, let's say you. How does this shake down at your company? Does seniority just move up, or is it like the hockey world where like you can be a rookie and you can be on the first line?
Yeah, but you might not be getting paid. You have your entry level contract, right? If we're going to be fair. But at the same time, we like to have, whenever people join the company, they have like an introduction salary. And after that can get reassessed after that they've been around for a while. If they start, I would not surpass them necessarily over seniority like in the first year. You'd have to let a first year go by, let some water go out under the bridge. Maybe then what you can do is if you see that person taking that other person's role, you can take that senior person and you can shift them into another role. So you're not really comparing apples to apples anymore. They're in 2 different categories. If you, the whole point is to have fresh blood come up and to replace people. That young guy might have, like, for example, might be more productive, but that senior guy can coach, can educate, can be a mentor to younger people like no one else can. Now, if he doesn't want to do that, he just wants to go about his own business and I've been here for a while and I don't want to teach. I just want to do my own thing and take my paycheck every day. Well, that doesn't really buy into our company culture. Thankfully, we don't have anybody like that. And if you would, I assume you'd have a talk with them and being like, this is not going to be attractive to other people if there's just Grandpa Grumps over here, just ruining the day for everybody. So people that would have seniority that have been there for longer, they have to be there and they can be put into a different role. I would say if you would see their boots getting taken, you want to keep as many people as you can for as long as you can. I wouldn't fire a guy just because he's older and not as fast as somebody else. If the guy's given you, once again, it comes back to loyalty. He's committed himself to your company and helped you grow throughout these years and help you get to where you are right now. It comes once again to like working for the incorporation, not for yourself. It's less personal whenever you have an incorporation. If it's your own personal business, you take things way too personally. You got to recompense them. You got to keep them in for as long as they want to be there and make an environment. And if it comes to that is suitable to them. And if it comes to a thing of salary, eventually you might have to tell them, listen, this is where we're going to be able to cap you at. You're not going to be as productive as you used to be, but we love to keep you in as like a sales role or something like that. I think there's a way to keep your senior people on your staff.
I like that entry-level contract example. That's there's way too many guys that have a good couple first seasons, and then that's kind of where they peak at, right? And
Are you talking about Zadina?
Oh, Pavel Zadina, exactly, man. Now, like every first, second, third round pick ever for the Wings, like all their big money has always come from late round guys. Pavel Datsuk, who's in like the 12th or 13th round. Whoever was like, who is this? And now everybody knows who he is. But yeah, no, it's all about actually proving what you're worth. And if you're like a Pavel Datsuk and you're really good, your rookie season they'll put you on a line with Brett Hall, who's an old guy who's trying to find a new role, who can't skate as fast. And so what did they do? They put him out there with this young, fast, like 19, 20-year-old kid who was about to light the league on fire. So I think that's a great example that, like, you maybe just got get a little creative with who's going to work with who. And I think you can always create synergy and winning, but it's good to not maybe give away the farm right off the bat to somebody who like has hardly proven themselves, and that all story, like you could go on and on and on, waxing poetic about every professional sports league of like the people that have been showered with money and opportunity and did like nothing. So there's lots of that, and unfortunately, there's probably lots of that in our industries as well. So, Richey, I know not so much now because your wife is the boss. So in like always, so that just answers that.
Well,
case closed. But
and my take on that is there are pros and cons to both ways. I mean, there really is. I don't think I'm not going to say one way is better than the other. My kind of thinking of it is, kind of like Phil had said, you may have somebody who's senior who's not as productive as a junior guy that, has been there less time, but that doesn't mean he's not put in his time and have the knowledge to perform the job properly. I've seen a lot of guys who are slower, who don't work near as fast, but they do the job right. I've seen guys who are fast who don't do the job right. I've also seen senior guys that they get lazy and lackadaisical. And then the junior guy, he's working his butt off and picking up the slack of the guy who doesn't want it. So, I mean, it's one of those things that, you got pros and cons in both ways. That's kind of my thing. If you're promoting based on performance, you're rewarding not only a loyal employee, but you're doing it based off of, like you said, off performance. But if you promote a senior guy who is not performing well, then what's that show the rest of your employees? Does it kind of demotivate your other employees? To say, hey, well, this guy's not doing anything, and he's got the skill and the knowledge to do it, but now he's getting lazy and he's not doing it, but he's getting a promotion based off his seniority. He's a raise or a promotion, whichever you want to look at it, based off seniority, not off of what he's actually doing. So then that may cause a problem, and as we used to call it, unit cohesion in the military. Now they're butting heads and they're talking behind each other's back. But if you have a good senior guy who's been there for a while, he's not going to sit up there and he'll take his raise or whatever. But if he's a good leader himself, he's going to come to you, the boss. He's going to go to the boss and say, hey, this guy's working his tail off. Let's give him a raise. So I mean, like I said, there's good and bad in both. So I mean, I can't swing one way or the other on that. There's just, everybody does it differently. Everybody's employees are different. Like I seen in the chat, how many employees do you have to hire to find one good one? My experience is about 10. Guy's coming tomorrow. All right, he'll be here in the morning, 7 o'clock. Don't hear from him. Don't see him. Like, well, he lasted all of 0 seconds. So it's it all varies from business to business, region to region. Pay's totally different down here than what it is like where Phil is, where Paul Kamara is, out in Texas with those guys, everybody pays different. Everybody performs differently. Everybody has different parts of their job. So
I thought one of the takeaways from this chat was that Canada has reliable employees and America doesn't. I don't know. And Eli's like trumped that with family who they take care of each other. But I'm thinking man, then Michigan it's not really like that. And Richie's like not by me, but sounds pretty great in Montreal. You guys all stick together.
Well, then another thing you got to look at, how large is your area? How large is your hiring area? Where you live at. I'm in a small town. I say small. We're in a small town. I mean, we've got 2 red lights. So it's not like we're a large area. Usually in the smaller towns, you have less people wanting to work or less people needing a job, in lawn care, especially in the South. It's 500 degrees on the surface of the sun. And, it's miserable. It's hard. It's hard work.
I hear people write songs about small towns these days.
That's what I hear too. He might be small town Georgia. You never know.
Could have been. It sounds like especially when you said it's like the face of the sun. I went, oh man, I think I read something about that in regards to that song. So
yeah.
Right on. Well, Paul Camara mentions it's experience for him. And what if your senior guy doesn't want to go to leadership? That's a good point. You got to work with what people want to do. You can give them an opportunity, but it doesn't mean they want it, which is part of the fun of managing employees. So anything you guys want to add before we land the plane here?
I'm kind of like Paul. If they don't want the job, if you force them into a job, they're not going to be happy.
Yeah, you just maintain their role, keep them in a position where they're happy.
Yep.
Last thing you want is a disgruntled employee. It's like if you upset your wife and you wake up the next morning, it's going to be you're not going to talk that much. And you're probably not going to talk that much the next night, or maybe you'll talk a lot. But it's
a lot of talking in my house.
It's a lot of talking. Yeah. Okay. But
you bring that work home, don't you?
Or maybe all day at work. Maybe all day at work in the truck. But
Yep.
But that's the thing. You want to kind of make sure that things are kept short account of, and that the relationships are kept well. And if someone doesn't want to have that role, that's perfectly fine. They're going to have to know that they're going to get surpassed though pretty quickly by people that do want to become invested in the long-term health and growth of the company. But there's no hate in that. We're all human, right? We all have different levels of capacity. It's all about employers knowing what can that employee do. Don't ask too much of them, and use them to their full potential. Not just take them like a lemon and squeeze them and throw them out, or a peach or an orange or wherever you're from, but really just nurture them and really cause them to be the best that they can be for their own well-being and for your company.
Love it. Well said. Very, very well said. Perfect. Well, Eli, you want to add anything real quick?
Yes, I wanted to add, and I know we all talked about how to deal with employees, and we all talked about how to make them feel happy, how to make them feel they're part of the business, part of the family. But I also wanted to bring up something that's very important. It's not only about making these guys feel part of the family, but also they got to follow the instructions. There's procedures they got to follow. For example, like I said, Phil said it, we all said it, keep them guys hydrated with drinks, with Gatorade. Myself, I pay for the lunch, but they got to follow the instructions. For example, we have a guy that we hired this year, and he loves to drink, man. Especially the weekend. So he will not show up to work on Monday, especially on Monday. But before we hire the guys, they sign our SOP, a little paper, SOP, standard operation procedure, where all them rules are there. That way they can say, hey, I didn't know about all that. So I told this guy, you know, first time he no call, no show. Second time, same thing. So I sat this guy down and say, hey, do you remember when you signed the paper? Yeah. So you're gonna have to sign another one. This is a warning. Next time you miss, you're automatically terminated. So ever since this guy signed that paper, because he was a back-to-back, almost like every other week that he was missing. I think he missed like two straight. And so the last time he missed, I told him, hey, you're going to have to sign this one. This is just a warning saying, hey, you already missed too many days. And the next time you're going to miss, it's going to be automatic termination because you've only been with us for 2 months. So ever since this guy got the warning, 2 months now, he hasn't missed any. Anybody gives us a heads, hey, I have an appointment tomorrow, or at least give us notice for at least 24 hours. That way we know what we're doing when you're out. Who we're going to fill in your spot. That way we don't have to rush and see, hey, forget about the quality and just get the job done. No, we got to fill in with somebody, or your crew has got to leave a little early just to get the job done. So those are things that I wanted to bring up, that not only treating these guys, making them feel, but they gotta follow the instruction as well. As company, we have standards, we have procedures that every employee has got to follow, no matter if you've been with a company for 10 years, 2 years, a month. But those are, especially with safety, you got to have your safety glasses. Things like that. You got to have your ear protection. Things like that are so important in a business. So I wanted to bring that up because I don't think we talked about that, but those are things that every company should have with their employee.
Well said. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You got to have the employee handbook, standard operating procedures, all that stuff. And then even as Phil mentioned, obviously setting up your business as some sort of legal entity, whether it's LLC, incorporated, so on and so forth. All sorts of good ideas that certainly will help you more easily manage employees and also take a proper tract in things, because there may be times where that puts you, now that you have employees, you have to deal with government agencies. And, they, just speaking from experience, tend to like us guys that dot I's and cross T's and are good at paperwork, and tend to take to task people that, like our dear former friend Caleb Allman, who in a former past part of his career may have said, what paperwork? And that didn't work too well until, they got it all figured out. And then now, like Richey, he works for his wife. And all for the best. All for the best. So perfect. Phil asked coffee preferences. I like any in the morning, preferably, not so much later. You guys, coffee preferences?
Mornings, Red Bull for me.
Red Bull.
Yeah.
Oh, Richie, you're muted. That's the type of coffee he likes, is muted coffee.
Did you get it? Did you read my lips? Did you figure it out?
No.
Well, the world will never know.
There we go. We'll land the plane there, guys. I'm Michael from Bedell Property Management. This has been Echo Means Business YouTube Live, managing employees. And join us next month, because as our friend Jerry N asked in the chat, what are we talking about next month? Well, we're going to transition from employees to, if all goes well, we'll probably return and talk about managing the people that you work for. That's right, customers, clients, how you're going to manage them. So take care, be good to each other, and we'll see you in a few weeks and chat more then. Take care, be safe, everybody.
See you guys.
Y'all
Cheers.
take